In 2013, a researcher at the University of Cambridge ran a test that was, by any technical measure, unremarkable. He gave a computer algorithm one piece of information about real people, a list of what they had clicked like on Facebook. No messages, no photos, no profile, no location data, just likes. Then he asked the algorithm to determine who those people were, their sexual orientation, their ethnicity, whether they were Republican or Democrat, whether their parents had stayed together until the subject reached adulthood. He expected partial results. The algorithm predicted sexual orientation correctly in 88% of cases, ethnicity in 95%, political affiliation in 85%, whether a subject's parents had divorced 86%. The paper was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences under the title "Private Traits and Attributes Are Predictable from Digital Records of Human Behavior." Michael Kosinski, lead researcher at Cambridge's Psychometric Center, did not describe the findings as a breakthrough. He described them as a warning. Nobody filed them under that category. The assumption most people carry is reasonable. It feels correct. You know what you are. You know what you believe. You know what you want. The phone, the app, the algorithm, these things learn about you. But you are the ground truth. You are the reference point. The machine studies you from the outside. You remain the expert on the inside. This logic feels solid. It is also exactly what the data went on to destroy. 2 years after Kosinski's initial paper, he collaborated with Yu Wu and David Stilwell on a follow-up study, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2015. This one asked a different question, not whether an algorithm could describe you, whether it could know you better than the people who had spent years in the same room as you. The results were precise. With 68 Facebook likes, the algorithm outperformed your coworkers at predicting your personality. With 150 likes, it outperformed your parents. With 300 likes, it outperformed your romantic partner, the people who had seen you at your worst, the people who had been sleeping next to you for years, not even close. Think about what that means. Not as a data point, as a fact about your life. The people you love cannot read you as well as a behavioral model built from what you clicked on. And that model was running on 300 signals. The actual platforms operating today have collected hundreds of millions of behavioral data points on each user, updated in real time, continuously refined. 300 likes was a proof of concept. What exists now is something with no clean analogy. But here is the crack in the logic that nobody closed. In 2012, researchers at Facebook ran an internal experiment on 689,003 of its users. No notification, no informed consent. They altered the emotional content of what those users saw in their feeds. Some users received feeds weighted toward positive content. Others received feeds weighted toward negative. Then the researchers measured what those users posted in the hours that followed. The manipulation worked. Users exposed to more negative content produced more negative content. Users exposed to more positive content produced more positive content. The emotional state traveled through the sorted list, person to person, without any of them speaking a word to each other. The paper appeared in 2014, again in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Its title was "Experimental Evidence of Massive-Scale Emotional Contagion Through Social Networks." Stop. Read that title again. Massive scale, emotional contagion, through a ranked feed. Not through conversation, not through lived experience, through a list that an algorithm decided to show you at a company whose stated objective function had nothing to do with your emotional health and everything to do with time spent on the platform. Here is the twist. You thought the algorithm was learning who you are. That part is true. But describing you was never the goal. Describing you was the first step. What comes next is the part that nobody explained clearly. Not in the terms and conditions, not in the privacy disclosures, not anywhere in the public record until people started going on record to describe it from the inside. Once the system knows which inputs alter your behavior in predictable ways, it begins selecting those inputs. Not randomly, not neutrally. in the direction that serves the platform's objective. Your anxiety is not a side effect of using the product. Your anxiety is a signal, a reliable one. The system found it. The system learned to use it. Here is what the mirror shows. You are not the user of this system. You are not even the product. You are the factory. Every scroll generates behavioral data. Every hesitation before a click. Every second you spend on a photograph before moving to the next one. Every time you open the app at 1 in the morning and close it without posting anything. That data is richer than any survey because it is involuntary. You cannot lie to a sensor. You cannot perform for a system you do not know is watching. And the thing that sensor captures, the patterns of compulsion, the rhythms of avoidance, the hours of silent nighttime scrolling, that is not a description of you. It is a prediction of you. Raw material for a model that runs continuously, updated with everything you did today, recalibrating what you will do tomorrow. Mikhail Kosinski did not build this. He proved it was possible with embarrassingly little data. What came after was not a warning being heeded. It was a proof of concept being scaled. In 2016, the data firm Cambridge Analytica acquired the personal information of approximately 87 million Facebook users through a third-party quiz application. Christopher Wiley, the firm's research director, described the operation in 2018 congressional testimony as building a psychological warfare tool. The data was not collected to describe those 87 million people. It was used to identify which emotional triggers would move specific individuals toward specific political decisions. Different fears for different profiles, different versions of events delivered to different psychological vulnerabilities, identified through behavioral data they had generated without knowing anyone was watching. Shoshana Zuboff, a professor at Harvard Business School, spent a decade trying to name what this system actually is. Her 2019 book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, introduced a precise term for what technology companies sell. Not your data, not your profile. What they sell, Zuboff argued, is your predicted behavior. The next click, the next vote, the next purchase before it happens. She called it behavioral futures. You have not made the decision yet. The market for your decision already exists. There is no version of this that is fixed by adjusting your privacy settings. Every time you felt unsettled and opened the app, you taught the model something. Every time you watched a video longer than you planned to, you confirmed something. Every time you read a headline that made you furious, then read 6 more exactly like it, you told the system which wire to pull, not on humanity in the aggregate, on you, on your specific psychological architecture, your specific breaking points, your tells. What does it do to a person to spend years being predicted, targeted, and quietly redirected without ever knowing it was happening? What becomes of the capacity to want something the algorithm didn't already anticipate? What is left of a self that has been, for the better part of a decade, a training set? The Kosinski paper from 2013 was received as a data science result. It was actually a dispatch from a world that was already being built. A world where the most intimate facts about a person could be extracted from the most casual behavior, where your emotional state could be modulated through a sorted list, where the gap between what you think and what you do could be measured, mapped, and exploited by systems you interact with every day and understand almost not at all. We built that world anyway, one click at a time, and we called it connection. You know something now that you cannot unknow. Most people stop here, a few don't.